Hi guys, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm on with another little project today. So I want to make some of these scrappy little notepads. Now I did make one previously in my envelope project video to fit into one of the envelopes, and I really loved the way it turned out. It's a great way of using up some of your scrap bits and pieces. So for these I just used scrap papers, book pictures, and the background is just your coloured and book pages. And I do add some postage stamps, which is heaps of fun as well. So I will get on and we'll get it done. I hope you enjoy. I have just an array of colours of your start book pages here. A lot of the time they're coloured on one side and blank on the back. So what I'm doing is folding them in half, and that will give me the beautiful colour on both sides. So I go through and just fold all of them. You can see they've still got the torn edges where I've taken them out of the books. Now that that's done, I grab my metal ruler and I'm just taking off the really rough edge there. So I line them up against the lines on my cutting board so I can try and get a straightish edge. It is still a ripped edge though. I think that adds a bit of character. And then I'm ripping them in half. One of them's a bit long, so I rip it into 3 pieces, but most of them I'm just ripping in half like that. That's going to make me 2 bases per most of the pieces for my little scrappy booklets. And then what I want to do is glue them shut. So this will just reinforce the backing here and make it a nice thickness. And like I said before, it also gives us the colour on both sides. I do that with all of my pieces. So I have my backgrounds there, and I have a stack of scrappy papers that I'm going to use for pages. And I've also hunted out some pictures that I'd like to use as well. Just some little pictures here, all out of books. So I've got the botanicals, and then I've got there just some little square pictures that I have sorted into themes. So I've got entertainment and ladies, that sort of thing. So I'm just going through and picking a few of the backgrounds that I might like to use and finding some botanicals which I think will go nicely with them. I have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of these little pictures that I've cut out of books, so it's great to find uses for them. So I'm just cutting down the botanicals here. I'm leaving the border around these, just leaving a little bit of white around the borders. I think it looks nice. Now the one I've got there I'm going to use on the back of my little notepad, and I'm going to add this strip of paper as well. So I make a couple of the little booklets with you, and then I go off and make some more, and then we'll come back and have a look at them all. So I'm just sticking the picture to the strip of paper first. Next I decide to do a little bit of stamping, so I've just got one of my stamping spots there. It's a pink ink, and I've got a set of postage themed stamps. So I'm using that to stamp onto my picture, and that just to add a bit more interest. Then I can stick my picture to the back of my card there. So the postage stamp set is a no-name brand. So I've got a bit of music page there that I want to use as my page, and I've also got this little botanical picture that I'll use as the start page to my little scrappy notebook. Now I'm going to back that onto some blank book page. Just makes it a little more sturdy, and it also gives us a bit of writing space on the back if we want to flick it up and write on it. So I stick that down and then I cut it out around the border there. So now I can layer up my scrappy pages for my notepad. So I'm just using the ruler again to rip them. So they do have some ripped edges, but I like the look of that. It does add interest, and I like their different patinas on the papers. It adds nice interest as well. So I'm just going along finding the types of papers that I'd like to use at a size that I think will work for me. I want them sort of staggered a bit. That way when we add a bit of embellishment, we've got some room to do so and see them. So I've got all sorts here. I've got ledger papers, lined pad papers, blank book pages, all that sort of thing. Have some drawers next to me where I throw all of this stuff when I'm making journals, so it's good to find a reason to grab them out, go through them and whittle them down a bit. So you can see I'm layering them up from the smaller pieces to the bigger pieces. And I start with a small picture on the front so that we can see all the layers underneath. I do like that. And that's why I put the bigger picture on the back of the backing card. So I am a little fussy, if you haven't noticed in previous videos. You know, I do like to find the colours that I like and layer them up the way I want. You know, a lot of people would just grab whatever, put it together and it looks wonderful, but I don't find that works for me. So I do take my time with this stuff. So don't mind me faffing around. I'm also keeping the little coloured page piece that I ripped off at the start of the backing piece because I will use some of that as well for decoration. So next to me on the left there, I have a bag full of pages that are a bit bigger than, I don't consider them scraps as such. So I've got them next to me to pull from if I need bigger pieces for the bottom layer. So I do about 4 extra pages other than the top piece on each book. I think that's enough because if you turn them over, you've got a lot of writing space really there, and you don't want them too bulky for your journal. So just keep ripping them down to get them the size that I think goes nice when they're all layered together. Now I'm adding some postage stamps to these and I want to be able to see them a bit. That's why I'm making some of the bottom pieces a bit shorter there. Next I grab my ink. I've just got my walnut stain ink. I've decided to ink these pages. I don't ink all of them, but these ones I wanted a little bit more vintage style, so I am inking them. It does add a nice definition to your pages once you put them together. So I finally stacked them all together again, and then I grab my tiny attacher and just put a staple in the top corner there. Of course you don't need the tiny attacher, you can use just a normal stapler or a brad or something if you like. I bash the back down on my staple because they are a bit curved in the back, the staples, and that does add bulk again, and it's a little rough for your pages, so I bash it down just to flatten them out a bit. So now I'm bringing in that scrap piece off of the coloured book page. Said I want to use that for decoration. I think it looks really nice bringing some more of that colour in. It's another reason I don't necessarily cover up the whole background piece with my page layers, because I still want to see some of the colour. So now I'm just going through my stamps. I've got my botanical stamps and my kings and queens, that sort of thing. Just grabbing some colours and styles that I think will look nice with the botanical picture. This is another thing that takes me forever to do. because, as I said before, I'm fussy. Hence why I speed up my videos for you, or we'd be here all day. Now once that's finally done, I can stick it all down. Then I like to grab my stamps out again. And I'm doing secondary stamping here, so it's not so harsh and bright. That's that little book finished. So I do go ahead and make another couple of books here. So what I might do is put some music on now. You've seen the process with that first one. So I'll just let you watch this and enjoy my crappy music. And I will talk to you at the end. So I've finished off my little scrappy pads. I sat down and made some more, so we'll go through them all. So this is one of the ones that we made together. So most of them have the 5 layers in the background, and they all have a nice picture on top, which all of them I remembered to back except for one, which doesn't really matter. It's up to you whether you back them or not. So you can flick them up, fold them over right on the back if you want as well. You could just leave the piano paper as is, or you could add some writing paper on that, but I kind of like the way it looks. I did use the offcuts of the coloured book page that I used for the back to decorate some of the pages. And I used my postage stamps because I have heaps of postage stamps, and I think it's a lovely way of using those. So pretty well all scrap papers. All except one, I think, are out of books, the pictures. Even that one might be out of a book, I'm not sure. Could be off some scrapbooking paper or something. I'll show you when we come to that one. And then, yeah, the back is your end book page that I've folded, and that's made it quite sturdy. And then on the back I put another book picture, and I did do some stamping just to embellish it a little further. So I love that one. And then we did this one, more vintage style. This beautiful picture out of a book. Some old graph paper that I think I'd tea dyed. Pad paper, music paper. And then my stamping and stamps. I used this stamp a bit like a tab. Something a bit different. And then I did leave this side of the coloured book page blank. So, you know, I like to leave a lot of space in my journals for whoever gets it to add their own pictures and writing and that. So I try not to over embellish everything. And then that's the back there. With an advert out of a book and some more stamping. And then we did do this one together, I think, with the blue background in this picture. That's your due date slip out of a book. It's a bit ragged, but I really liked it, so I wanted to use it. I think I stuck it to the next page accidentally. Not too bad. Doesn't matter if the page is a bit ripped and that. We're using scraps. Can always cover over that with another stamp or something if it did bother me, but it doesn't. So that's that one in the back. And then the ones I did off camera. Now this is the piece that I'm not sure if it was a book or not, because it tends to look a bit like cardstock to me, especially with the back, and I forgot to cover that one. There might be two I forgot to cover over, but that doesn't matter. It still looks all right like that. Some blue paper, graph paper. This is airmail paper, I think. So I kept it in blues. Blue papers and then blue lines on the paper, which I thought looked nice. And that's the back on that one. And this dark blue one, I just used one of the rose pictures that I have thousands of out of a rose book. I think that was a nice way to use it. Just some packaging paper. And there again, I've got the coloured strip was off cut. And just scraps. Some stamps, that's the back. And then a green one. Lovely picture on that one. So it adds a lot of writing space. These could be slipped into a pocket or in a belly band or something like that. Could slip them over the top of a page, but they wouldn't fit too snug because of the staple that I've put in them. And this one, which is another one of the rose pictures. Rose stamp. And the last one I have made is this blue one, which I forgot to back as well, but it's very pretty on the other side. It doesn't really matter. Some of the ones I did with you I inked around the edges of the papers, which I do like the way it highlights the ripped edges and that. But for these, they're so nice and colourful, I didn't bother inking. Again, I settled for mostly blue papers and blue lines. And they're the botanical pictures and a couple of these that I used bigger ones for the pockets that I did with you in a previous video. So that was a lot of fun making those. Great way of using up those scrap bits of paper that you have. Nice and colourful. Great way to use your little book pictures as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I had heaps of fun making them. We'll make a pile again in the future. So I hope you enjoyed that. Do take care of yourselves, and I will see you again soon. Bye.